Hi everybody, this weekend I've uploaded 4 videos this weekend with healing music. And also, when I read the title of this particular song, I thought I've got to feature the Norwegic Queen of Warriors, of which I'm proud to say I am a huge fan and warrior. She's singing with Asgell, To Be Loved, and it features our Queen Aurora. And what it says about the song is this, and I'm going to read you what I have found by Ismael Soto Sanchez. Aurora shows listeners what it's like to be loved with Asgell. Nobody shows us how to be loved, but at least we have Aurora to make us feel, he says, this absence in the video for the song, which is today's featured video, To Be Loved. The video starts with a thought. In black and white, we are introduced to the idea of wanting to be loved. Images flash before our eyes, and we are sensed how something intangible, almost non-existent, is there. The video flips to Aurora in the center of what looks like an aftermath of an explosion. The image is clear. Toward the middle of the song, however, the visuals take a twist. A couple begins to appear, and flames rise from the ground above Aurora. It seems almost as if she could touch this feeling of love. But just before she does, she sees herself trapped in between the flames, and something that could have been, but never was. The video that you're about to see was directed by Sophia and Robert, who have produced various videos for the likes of David Guetta, The Cooks and Pale Waves. The song, a collaboration between Norwegian producer Asgell and singer Aurora, who also is Norwegian, feels personal and intimate, but it's arranged in a way that makes it feel chaotic. The visual representation, in a sense, aims to inspire the same mix of feelings in its viewers. It explores an aesthetic of chaos, where quick cuts and turns lead to bring about the narrative and rhythm of the song. And what Ismael is saying there is, during the video, and anybody who suffers from headaches, migraines, can't look at videos with flashes, might find this too fast for their eyes to cope with. So I am warning people in advance. It's very fast, little snippets of everything to bring about the narrative, because what it is it's a catharsis of feeling. That's what it creates, an atmosphere of love, making you vulnerable and defenseless. Once you're in love, you cannot escape it, and you end up craving it when it's no longer there. Love in itself is the foundation for human life. Amen to that. And for Aurora and Asgell, it is central, beautiful, and exploratory in To Be Loved, the video you're about to see. Now, I brought up the lyrics on Aurora's website, and it's called Aurora, the wiki website that she has, and I'll put that link along with her links as always in the description attached to this video, because some of the fans were saying that the actual lyrics on websites that I've used before and have always been plausible have been genius and so forth, that kind of thing, and I found them on her own website. So I'm going to break down the lyrics afterwards as always, and I'm going to give you my interpretation of what I think this is about. Now, Asgell replied to a Reddit user about the lyrics. He said, "To Be Loved is a huge document on my computer with lines and ideas written over almost a year, I think. We discussed the idea of Aurora doing the vocals on one of my tracks way back in 2017. So I just started collecting emotions and gradually shaped some concepts, and the concepts will be, his ideas come very fast in the flicking movement of images that you'll see, until I had a track ready that made sense," he continued, "to have a feature on. So most of the lyrics and melodies were already written, but I kept some of it open so she could add her touch and style to it. So between the two of them, I'm very intrigued as to what the end result was." To all the fans that have watched this before, I'm sure you'll be bored me explaining a bit of bio about it, but to all those who haven't, then jump on board, I don't interrupt, and I'll give you my breakdown of the lyrics straight after. Let's all enjoy. Asgell, To Be Loved, featuring Aurora.
Waking up, thinking of what it is to be loved, to be loved, to be loved. Should I know on my own, on the road, what it is to be loved, to be loved, to be loved? You touched my skin so warm, but time is cold, and trust me, I would know in my heart I'm the half of a whole, and it's making me feel so alone. Waking up, thinking of what it is to be loved, to be loved, to be loved. Tell myself I have to build defenses, 'cause once you are in love you are defenseless. Everything was easy when it meant less, but once you are in love you are defenseless. Nobody knows me, nobody knows me. I am never lonely until someone holds me and let go, just to show me how it's like to be loved. How it's like to be loved. How it's like to be loved. I take flight but you hold me. Is that how you show me how it's like to be loved? How it's like to be loved. 'Cause nobody shows me, nobody shows me how it's like to be loved, how it's like to be loved. I take flight but you hold me. Is that how you show me how it's like to be loved? How it's like to be loved. I tell myself I have to build defenses, 'cause once I am in love I'll be, once I am in love I'll be defenseless, defenseless. Once I am in love I'll be defenseless.
As always, I take a breath after every video that I react to with Aura, and I have all those images flashing through my head. Congratulations to everybody, as always, involved. It was a very theatrical performance, a very diversive performance, which I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute. And it was very powerful in its imagery, but it's meant to be. And the subject matter affects every single person that walks this earth. There is an old saying, we come into this world crying, we leave it crying. And 90% of people leave the world crying because they've never experienced love, proper love, real love. Because we all develop how love ought to be and should be, instead of accepting what love is and what love can be. Because we have a perception of love beforehand. We almost like a shopping list. He has to be looking like this. I have to be attracted, blah, blah, blah. Spontaneous love is getting rarer and rarer. People have an image now and of exactly what they want. Exactly. They're almost planning their lives. And love is love. It's limitless. You can't put boundaries on it. And it's something that karma brings to you. In some cases it doesn't. But to be loved and to feel it is what we all desire. I noticed in the video, the first thing, that the girl partaking, and she was lying on a beach, drained of emotions, and almost like the love that she was getting, the physical love, is what we all desire. And I felt it was very overwhelming because she had a distorted face. I'm not saying that was anything to do with it, but maybe she felt, I don't look like all the other girls around me who are getting loved. But then suddenly she finds love, who loves her for herself. But it's the acceptance of it, isn't it? Can it be real? It'll only be short-lived. Nobody ever stays. We're hidden in our little bubble, our world. It's physical, it's beautiful. I'm defenseless. I give into it. And Aura sings about being defenseless as well, which we'll touch on in a minute. But it was beautifully done, and the fast images, if you could keep up with them, depicted paintings that have been painted by some of the greats and some of the great wars of love that have happened over the centuries. In other words, it's an ageless concept that to be loved for some is everything. It's what they feel the heartbeat of their life is about. And for others who don't get it, they diversify and create a life and put love into things that will give them back love. Some animals, some plants, some people voluntary work, that kind of thing. So it's all about balancing love. And let's go into the lyrics. I absolutely applaud everybody involved with that. It's very dramatic, but it had to be. It just had to be. So we'll go to Aura's website and bring it up. Sorry, it's just taken a while. And then we start. Waking up, it begins thinking of what it is to be loved, to be loved, to be loved. Sometimes we think of it 24 hours a day. I've often said to people, love doesn't have to be about sex. It's about the intimacy between two people. Holding hands to me is everything. Hugging somebody that you're with, just giving them a daily hug, can be enough for me. Talking to them on the same level, not talking down to them. And sharing an environment if you're living together, or if you're seeing each other and you see each other once a week or whatever it is, coming together and being in that environment and sharing your space with each other can be enough for a lot of people. I always say it doesn't have to always be the physical. That's a wonderful expression of love between two people. The intimacy can come from the simplest of things. And to be loved, to be loved, to be loved is what every human being wants. Should I know, it continues on my own on a road, what is it to be loved, to be loved? So it's just opening with the question, really questioning, what is it to be loved? It continues, I would know in my heart I'm the half of a whole, and it makes me feel so alone, waking up thinking of what it is to be loved, to be loved, to be loved. And almost you reflect back to the video where the girl is lying on the beach. There's that element. I touched on it before. And then if you look at these lyrics and you look at it, it's almost the vision of you're washed up emotionally. We always get images of people drowning in videos, and that's drowning in your emotions. And it's that symbolism is carried through with hundreds of videos, thousands of videos. But to see somebody on a beach clawing the way through in a different dimension, a different concept of love, you're clawing your way from after being drowned in emotions to surviving being drowned in them, to being washed up. And some people do feel like that emotionally. They feel like rubbish being washed up on the shore, and rubbish is being disposed of. So waking up thinking what it is to be loved, and feeling like that is an everyday occurrence for a lot of people. But let's see what happens with the lyrics. What does it tell us to do? It says, I tell myself I have to build defenses, because once you're in love, you are defenseless. And we saw Aurora singing that. And we saw behind Aurora the flames. And the flames for me are her passion to be loved, of how that defensiveness is. When the passions rise, when your whole body just flumps because you're just, woof, you're defenseless. You're not wanting to be a warrior fighting off love. You're submitting to it, and you do become defenseless once you've submitted to love, because it continues. Everything was easy when it meant less. So before the big boom in your eyes, oh my God, I'm in love with this person, it is more simple. That holding hands, that walking, the talking, the interaction, it's much simpler. But when it really hits you in the heart and the soul and travels down, like Aurora going down dramatically to the ground, you just fall with it. You fall with your feelings. There's no walls left that you used to protect yourself so nobody would harm you. When you're in love, you're in love. And it says, but once you're in love, you are defenseless, it finishes. And that is true, but it continues. Nobody knows me. Nobody knows me. I'm never lonely until somebody holds me. And let go just to show me, how's it like to be loved? How's it like to be loved? How's it like? The repetitiveness of even that sentence, how's it like to be loved? It's the old saying, isn't it? Once you have it, once you get it, once you feel defenseless, once you fall to the ground, once you look up, there's still the element of doubt. Is it real? Is it not real? Is it going to last? Is it just all about the physical, not the emotional? Can this be real? So even if you're in a relationship where both sides saying, I love you, I love you, I love you, you still wonder, how's it like to be loved? Because the last bit of that is forever. Because it's a forever love we're looking. That's a nice build-up. But people still want to jump ahead with love and just say, I hope this is my forever love. So it says, I take flight, but you hold me. Is that how you show me? How's it like to be loved? How's it like to be loved? So in the video again, you've got the guy holding the girl, submissive, after being loved by him and making love. But still the question arises with Aurora, how's it like to be loved? And you see Aurora suggestively touching the rock and just kissing her finger. So it's the juices of love. The water. Water is, we use water for survival, but also we also reflect on the interaction of lovemaking and feel even that you say, was that real? Is it surreal? Was it all about the wonderful touches? Oh, I'm defenseless. I don't know. I don't know. Because it continues repeating itself. Loved, love, 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 loved. Because you do think, oh, I'm in a wonderful relationship. This is great. Everything's going great. The fires are burning. But also we see in the video the actress falling to the ground and there's water around her, because that suggests a lot of tears, a lot of rejection has happened. And when love came, she doesn't know if it's real. It seems surreal to her because it continues, because nobody shows me love. In other words, they have met in the video, they have had sex, they have proven the fires of passion were there, but that poor girl still has been swept up on the shore so many times, fallen to her knees, crying so many times. I feel all the wetness around her were her tears. That she's been this submissive because there's such a yearning to be loved and accepted for what she is. Because we still remember in the face it was slightly distorted, which means she's not as perfect as the others around it that we visually expect a person to be, or herself. She's grown up being rejected, and used and abused. And therefore, when the lover comes, she says, I take flight, but you hold me. Is that how you show me? She doesn't even understand. She can't separate the physical, the mental, the physical feelings. She can't separate them. To her, it's like gate crashing, thought process. And that's why we see the rapid fluxes of images, because she's really, that's her thought process. What the hell is going on? I'm out of control here. I'm chaotic with all of this. I feel it's real, but I just don't know, because as she says, how is it like to be loved? How's it like to be loved? She just never, she doesn't know the answer to when it's real and somebody is saying the same things I've heard before. How do I know it's real? And how do I know this is how it's like to be loved? By the words, by the actions. Is it the same old, or is this the real thing? And then it says, I tell myself I have to build defenses. In other words, those defenses are gone, because we heard Aura singing before saying defenseless, defenseless. But all our defenses get washed away when we're totally in love. We forget ourselves. We're skipping in those fields and picking those sunflowers and smelling the roses and doing all sorts in our heads, because we feel wonderfully, the void in their life has been filled. But for a lot of people, the only thing that kept them going from one relation to another in search of love was to have that defensive wall around. So when it's gone, when you know, I just feel like jelly, you know, wobbling around every time this person's near me, you do ask yourself, should I be a lot more distance, a lot more, and protect myself? Because as it finishes, because once I'm in love, I will be. And that's the worst thing with a lot of people, because when they've been tricked into it, and I say not tricked, when they've emotionally succumbed to it, the feelings of defensiveness, no walls, this is the person, I'm in love. It finishes, once I'm in love, I'll be defenseless. Once I'm in love, I'll be defenseless. Your worst fear is never being able to recover from it if it breaks up. And that's what the whole song to me was about. It's about surviving the worst scenario after coming through the most beautiful scenario. And that's my commentary. Thank you for listening. Take care.